Initiated by the 2021 United Nations Food Systems Summit, as part of the Decade of Action to achieve its Sustainable Development Goals, and grounded on the National Food Systems Dialogues, the Food Systems Transformation Agenda is now firmly established and gathering momentum. In South Sudan, 4 national priorities for the transformation of its food systems have been set. One of these priorities is to strengthen the resilience of the country's food systems in the face of natural hazards, such as recurrent droughts and floods, and man-made hazards such as conflict and insecurity, that negatively affect the performance of the country's food systems. According to the Director General of Planning of South Sudan's Ministry of Livestock and Fisheries, Dr. Augustino Atilio, natural as well as man-made shocks have changed the dynamics of the country's food systems.
These communities are really threatened by so many shocks, including the natural disasters and man-made conflicts like the cattle raiding, the insecurity in the areas, a number of them, including the floods that has been displacing people from time to time. So these shocks have actually changed the livelihood and the dynamics of these communities, and now the fight is actually to fix this food system again. So our mission is actually to carry out a very scientific and thorough study and try to understand the indigenous innovations and approach that the people are using to mitigate the food system, and how can we bring the scientific aspect of the food system into a play so that we will be able to build a resilient food system in these communities. So unless we approach the food system in this particular way, it will be very difficult to address the issues of food security, the issues of decent job, the issues of food consumptions, the issues of the environment are all very key in the food system. So that's why we need peace. And as peace is the bottom line and the most crucial requirements for stability and for food system to be fixed, we had several meetings with the feast communities which have been established, and we have understood their roles in how to mitigate conflicts between communities, how to address the issues of food system in their own communities. And it has been very, very encouraging, and we need, as a government, to actually carry out this study and inform the policy formulations, which will be evidence-based, and it will be actually more appropriate to address the issues of food system in the country.
According to Mark Wani, working with South Sudan's Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security on the country's comprehensive agriculture master plan, strengthening the resilience of the country's local food systems requires a comprehensive approach that involves all aspects of food systems from production to distribution and consumption.
And building resilience in South Sudan food system refers to the ability of our community or a country to withstand and recover from shocks and stresses that affect its food supply. This can include natural disasters, economic downturn, and political instability. Achieving resilience requires a comprehensive approach that involves all aspects of food system, from production to distribution to consumption. To address this challenge, it will be important to work with local leaders and communities to build trust and cooperation. In South Sudan, the government has been plagued by conflict and malpractices, making it difficult to implement effective policies and programs to address this challenge. It will be important to work with local leaders and communities to build trust and cooperation. I call upon the government, specifically the ministry mandated to work on food security, that is the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, and its stakeholders to increase investment in agriculture and improve access to resources for farmers. This includes providing better seeds, fertilizers to say, and tools, as well as improving irrigation system, because depending on rain-fed agriculture is also a challenge due to climatic change, which is nowadays become a major problem. And infrastructure. By doing so, we can increase agricultural productivity, reduce food insecurity, and boost economic growth.
On his part, Konstantin Bartel of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, highlights what drives food insecurity in the country and what is required to strengthen the resilience of local food systems for improved outcomes, in particular increased food security and healthier diets. He points out 4 critical challenges.
The promise of the food systems transformation, it's a framework to understand what drives food insecurity, to better build food systems resilience and production from farm to consumption. What it brings to the people of South Sudan, I would mention 4 critical areas or outcomes. It's about food and nutrition security and health, which is very important in this case for children under 5 especially. The second is the socioeconomic situation. It would provide decent livelihoods. It could provide jobs for food system actors and reverse the negative terms of trade to improve the food trade balance. At the moment, the production gap is about 500,000 tons, which is mainly filled by imports. The third is the territorial balance. It brings the aspect of equitable development for the different states and the stability and equity among food system actors. The fourth is another very important one, is the environment. It will help to manage ecosystems and natural resources and limit their effects on climate. The key challenge is to overcome some of the entrenched weaknesses in governance. In governance mechanisms of the food system. This could be different at national, state, or county levels, but they all need some capacity and financing, and not to work in silos as they do today. I would call the government to prioritize the process of revitalizing the Food Security Council and its implementing arm, the Food Reserve Agency. I would also call upon the government and development partners to allocate human and financial resources to implement the Comprehensive Agriculture Master Plan, and especially the bankable agriculture projects.
Senior experts at the University of Juba highlight that strengthening local knowledge and training institutions is key when developing sustainable and resilient food systems across the country.
The promise of the food systems agenda is to transform the humanitarian assistance architecture, which is so predominantly established in these protracted food crisis contexts, and to transform it into a system that builds the resilience of food systems. And this can be done by honoring the localization agenda, investing in local institutions, whether these are local level, community-based, or national level universities, and taking seriously in working along the Nexus, involving humanitarian development and peace actors. Only then can we start to begin to address the root causes of these protracted crises to exist over such long periods of time. The key challenge to overcome is to break through the silos within which the different agencies work. So it is to bring together the different actors, government, donors, United Nations agencies, NGOs, civil society, private sector, but also knowledge institutions and training centers. And then together better understand how these local food systems work. and on that basis create a vision to build a more resilient food system. Based on that vision, envision the pathways and act upon the pathways in terms of activities to reach the vision of building a more resilient food system in South Sudan. My call for action is for governments and donors to make available the resources to drive the implementation of a genuine food systems transformation agenda. This also means creating a knowledge ecology by investing in local institutions, including universities and training centers, to build capacities for evidence-based programming, so that we decide on things proven in practice. This evidence-based programming is important because we program in situations that are very dynamic, very volatile. Things change. So only a type of programming that is informed by evidence can pay respect to the reality on the ground faced by people across South Sudan.
The Dean of the College of Natural Resources and Environmental Studies at the University of Juba, Professor Salah Katir, urges South Sudan to demonstrate its political will to act upon the country's food systems transformation priorities by investing in the development of its food systems.
The promise of food system transformation agenda for South Sudan is creation of South Sudan that will become food and nutrition secured country. A South Sudan that has moved from fragility and humanitarian dependency to a South Sudan with well-built food system that are sustainable, more resilient, and well prepared to shocks and stresses, being it environmental or man-made. As a country, we have already subscribed to first continental, secondly international pledges. So what is needed now? We need not only to demonstrate political will, but we need to exercise developmental agenda in actions and deeds. Basically, we need to generate and implement policies that are based on research and rigor of evidence.
Dr. Tony Ngalamu, Associate Professor of Plant Breeding at the University of Juba and involved in facilitating the local food systems resilience dialogues, calls upon South Sudan to end its dependence on humanitarian assistance by strengthening food systems governance that places local people at the center of their food systems, and with programming taking into account local contexts and field realities.
One thing that I think we need to realize is that this country, to have a transformed food system, need to depend on its food system rather than purely humanitarian food system. And that's the dream, to see that each and every South Sudanese owns their destiny and also have sovereignty over their food. The key challenge is absence of resources. I can't talk about absence of knowledge, because throughout this assessment we have gathered enough information that can actually be used as vehicle for change. But I think there's need for financial commitment from the government and other partners to ensure that this food system transformation is a reality rather than a myth. The call to action is all actors, including academia like University of Juba, the government of South Sudan, state governments, humanitarian organizations, donor community. They have to commit resources to ensure that the identified value chains across the areas where the system was actually assessed are actually made realistic and rewarding, with huge dividend to the people of the community, so that they depend on themselves to secure a food transformation agenda.
Obudra Francis, the operation manager of Seed Grow Company, who has taken part in various local food systems resilience dialogues, observes that if local food systems are well analyzed, these analyses can be used to inform pathways to strengthen the resilience of local food systems. This also means that food systems can be developed so that they contribute to social cohesion and peace within and between local food systems.
If this food system transformation or the resilience build, I believe there will be peace in South Sudan. It will bring peace to the South Sudanese people. Because if there's food and well organized, very nutritious food, accessibility is there, possibly everybody will be concentrating, doing business on seed, business on food, which I think, honestly, will bring peace for the country. Yeah, the key challenge is first we need peace at the moment so that people get down to their homes. And also, we need the different sectors, the players. We are not yet organized as a country. The food system is not yet organized. So that's a big challenge that we have because of the situation we're in at the moment, in the crisis. We have been running throughout the war, so all this, we are not organized to do this. So that's a big challenge. If there's peace, or if all this, the different stakeholders work together, then we'll overcome that. The NGOs or the donors and the government needs to work together. The different players in the food system have to work together so that we can overcome the challenges, so that we can organize the food system. If we don't work together, it's difficult for us to transform the food systems.
On her part, the Food and Nutrition Security Policy Officer at the Dutch Embassy in Juba, Robina Kojo Duku, urges the government of South Sudan to implement the provisions of the country's natural resources management strategy. This will support the development of healthy and well-functioning food systems across the country.
The promise of food system transformation is that the people of South Sudan produce enough food to fulfill their current and future food needs. When there is no food waste either in the farms or in the houses, or post-harvest, and when communities are self-reliant and less dependent on humanitarian aid to meet their food needs. The key challenges to overcome to make it work is the excessive dependence on humanitarian aid, which has created a behavioral catastrophe in South Sudan, or what we call the dependency syndrome, among communities. This impacts the efforts to achieve market-oriented agricultural development, notwithstanding, of course, the difficult operational environments to achieve the desired transformation. And I would like to call upon the government of South Sudan to commit to the implementation of the peace agreement on the provisions for peace and security, the constitution and election. Equally, the provisions on natural resource management, land use management, water and climate to be fulfilled as they directly or indirectly impact food system transformation. The achievement of these commitments would enable easy transition from humanitarian aid dependence to resilience building and later development and food system transformation.
South Sudan's national food system transformation priorities form the basis for developing a coherent set of policy and investment portfolios that together can develop sustainable and resilient food systems within and across its manifold and diverse people groups.